It's another Seattle Kraken game day. We're going to close out the road trip against a pretty tough opponent. Once again, we're taking on the Edmonton Oilers. We have updates on Andre Burakovsky. We hear from Yanni, Gourde, and Dave Hakstol sporting a new pregame look. Let's talk about all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. My name is Erica L. Ayala. I am your host of Locked On Kraken, also a contributor to CBS Sports on the NHL and basically hockey side of things, women's basketball side of things. I am the chair of the Professional Hockey Writers Association Women's Hockey Chapter, and, a few other things here and there. But before we get too far into today's episode, I want to let you know that today's episode brought to you by our friends at Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50+ infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com and use promo code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's JASE medical.com. Today's a game day, folks. It's a big one. Now, yesterday, the question of the day was, is this a must-win game in Edmonton? I appreciated the comments regarding what Jordan Eberle felt was a must-win. And I liked the comment on YouTube that maybe not a must-win in a literal sense. I agree with that. I say the only time you're in a must-win situation, at least literally, is when you're in a game 7 or the final game of a series, final game that could put you in or out of the playoffs. So I agree with that. I do like, though, that a good friend of the podcast and one of our Locked On Kraken insiders saying that the focus on the immediacy and wanting the urgency from the team by Jordan Eberle after yesterday's game or after Tuesday night's game is a good sign of leadership. And if you listen to the podcast, I always have said I like Eberle's leadership. And I like that comment from one of our listeners. I think you're absolutely right. This is saying, hey, let's not get too far away. Let's not have this get too out of hand. We just had a 9-game winning streak, 13 games where we were able to collect a point. That's not always going to be sustainable. And Edmonton is on a little bit of a streak of their own, which might make them a little, it's a good time to strike if ever we were going to do it. But at the end of the day, we know that that's not the normal. You have to be exceptional to play hockey at that level for that long. And between a mysterious illness, if I had to guess, is probably something in the colds, flu family. But, an illness, more players on the injury list, it was bound to happen. But you're going to hear from Yanni, Gourde. You're going to hear from Dave Hakstol today. And they're breaking down what they liked from the Rangers and what needs to improve. What the focus is going into today's game, knowing that Edmonton is, they are a worthy opponent in so many rights. Let's talk a little bit, though, about the game. Let's give you just some stats and facts. We'll get to notes and quotes in the next segment. But the Seattle Kraken right now, 19-16-9. So we are over 500. I looked at wins, losses, just so you know. But 47 points Overall record for the Edmonton Oilers, 24-15-1, 49 points on the season. The Oilers are 12-6-1 at home. The Kraken 10-8-6 on the road. You can see in the last 10 games between these two teams, only 2 losses. Those, of course, coming from the side of the Seattle Kraken. You can see that Vince Dunn not going to suit up. You'll hear a little bit more about that in a little bit. And Oliver Bjorkstrand are leading point scorers. So we're looking for Bjorky to see if he can keep going. Connor McDavid, surprise, surprise for the Oilers. The power play for the Oilers at a 25% clip to our 22.1% efficiency on the skater advantage. The penalty kill, pretty close here. Penalty kill 81.2% for the Oilers and 80.3% for the Seattle Kraken. So coming up, I like to look at when teams score and what this is this and that is that, to quote Flounder from the 90s version of The Little Mermaid. Anyway, we'll go over that in a little bit, but for me, the keys to this game, there's one key I'm sure that's going to be on the list, but I think it's a little bit of a different goal that at least I have for the Seattle Kraken. But I think it's also interesting to hear what Yanni Gourde and what Dave Hakstol had to say after morning skate. We did get some news from morning skate regarding Andre Burakovsky, the amazing Piper Shaw, also Jeff Baker reporting that Andre Burakovsky did suit up. So you'll hear Dave say, well, whatever he's willing to say, especially on a game day. But we'll hear that coming up next on Locked On Kraken. And as I mentioned earlier on the show, today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Jase Medical. Now, Jase Medical, I think, is a great company for you to know because although, we like to have fun and we talk about sports, we make some jokes. I definitely have some thoughts about Dave Hakstol's attire at morning skate. We know that these are things that we do in community, but I think it's also important to talk about community when it comes to taking care of ourselves and each other, as I say at the end of every show. And according to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. Now, this can easily be scary, but we don't want you to be scared. And so that's why we're going to take care of our community and let you know about Jase Medical. Jase Medical is what's going to help you get through cold and flu season, or even just an opportunity. It will let you overcome any shortages in medication that you need to keep yourself and your family safe. That's because the Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, among others. Any of these things that easily could come knocking on our doorstep. But if you visit jasemedical.com, you complete your physician encounter, you will have it reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications can be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. So not only are you getting yourself and your family prepared, but you're also doing so while saving money. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your first order. That's JASE medical.com and use promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, to get $20 off your order. Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Make sure also that you're listening to Locked On Sports today. You'll have Locked On NHL experts, myself and others that will be a part of our Locked On NHL show. You've got the Locked On Women's Basketball show, Locked On NBA, and on the first ever 24/7 streaming YouTube channel. So head over to Locked On Sports today, set your notifications like, of course, you do with Locked On Kraken, and make sure you don't miss a thing. But let's keep it rolling with our guys, the Seattle Kraken. They're going to hit the ice against the Edmonton Oilers. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Jeff Baker and Piper Shaw both reporting that Andre Burakovsky did dress and skated today. Also reported by both Piper and Jeff that Vince Dunn also did dress, however, did not fully participate. Let's hear what Dave Hakstol had to say after morning skate and check out his outfit. I'm feeling the more casual, dapper look here. Here's Dave Hakstol.
Good to go. Game time decision. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a good morning skate, but we're just going to make good decisions on a couple guys tonight at game time.
Dunn didn't skate. I mean, he's not ready to go. Is he? No.
He won't play tonight.
Yeah. All right.
Well, the Oilers are running hot right now. What are some of the challenges that the group's going to have to be aware of playing them tonight?
We're going to make sure we're on our game. That's what we're mostly focused and concentrated on. We got back to the way we wanted to play against the Rangers. We got to be a little sharper, a little quicker. Obviously, playing against teams that take advantage of time and space. Coming out of New York, coming in here, this group does the same. Time and space off the rush. You give them inside ice in the zone, and especially at net front. These guys are really good at net front. They do a good job at posts. So we just got to be really good and really sharp in what we do. And the bigger part of our game is, if we're talking after each period about how we're defending, we're probably going to be not in a great spot. We've got to be good with the puck. We've got to manage it well. We've got to be in sync. Our situation doesn't change from night to night. So our mindset's good. We know what we need to do to be successful. We'll be ready to play. I mean, we had a nice stretch and put us in, back in the hunt, back in the fight for a playoff spot, and that's exactly where you want to be. The reality is, getting back into that spot, it really, it makes every night pretty critical. You get an opportunity every night to go and advance towards the goal of being in a playoff position, but you really just have to take that night in and night out. And we play good teams every night. This team we're playing tonight is really good. They're going really well. Look up and down the schedule. There's not a whole lot of soft spots.
How important is a strong start for the team tonight? That's been an area that's been kind of wavering between great starts and not as great of starts. How key is that, especially in this matchup?
Well, it's not just this matchup. You play from behind, it's hard. You chase a game, it's hard. Edmonton, is playing really well and generating on the offensive side, but defensively, they're that maybe flies under the radar. I'm not sure, but they haven't given up much. You look at their recent stretch in terms of what they're giving up defensively. It's not a lot. So just like most nights, you don't want to have to play from behind.
And so there you have Dave talking to reporters after morning skate today. I think he gave a lot of really great nuggets, some that you heard here, some that I'll just recap for you. First, regarding what Eberle said, I think you hear, again, the urgency, even in what Dave Hakstol is saying. You don't want to slip too far. Liked some things that you saw against the Rangers. Now you need to bring that and then some against the Edmonton Oilers. You heard Piper Shaw ask Dave about the importance of an early start. Again, as he mentioned, as Piper alluded to, as we've talked about on the show, this is something that the Seattle Kraken have been focused on. And when you look at the stats and facts sent to us by the amazing Seattle Kraken PR team, you can see that even the Edmonton team, when they are trailing after one period, they struggle. They're 5-8-0 if they're trailing after the first period. The Seattle Kraken are 2-8-4 when trailing after the first. When trailing after the second, it gets worse. For the Kraken especially. The Edmonton Oilers, when trailing after two periods, 6-11-0, a losing record still. The Seattle Kraken, when trailing after two periods, are 1-14-3. So yeah, getting after it early, kind of important. And so, I think that's going to be a point of emphasis. I do want to give you a few other little stats and facts here going into tonight's game. Again, the amazing PR team letting us know that Yanni Gourde is set to become the fourth player in franchise history to play in 200 games. He would join Adam Larson, who's at 208, Alex Wenberg, who's at 206, and Jordan Eberle, who's at 201. So I guess he hit that 200 mark on the nose. I guess that would have been against Pittsburgh. I missed that for some reason. Either way, let's hear from Yanni Gourde. I thought he had some great quotes. And I'll summarize some things on the back end. But here's Yanni at morning skate, or after morning skate.
We don't want to put too much emphasis on one game, but how big is it tonight, just to avoid kind of falling into the trap of losing a bunch in a row again?
Yeah, you never want this to happen, obviously. And tonight's a big game for us, division game. You know how good that team is. It's a great measuring stick for us. We got to go out there and show our best effort, and I think that's huge for our team. Coming off we had a good road trip, a good spank a game there, winning streak, and then we fall to 2 games. So we got to get back at it. I don't think matchup. I think we just got to play our game. I think we focus on us. Obviously, they have elite talent on that team. We're going to have to readjust a few things when it comes to forechecking and staying above a few guys. But at the same time, we got to play the way the Kraken plays, and I think that's we got to find our identity and bring that identity every single night, and I think that's the step towards the winning call. I think it's going to be just when we get on the forecheck, we reload hard. Don't hope for any play. Don't give him anything. Just work hard. 1, 2, 3 above. We work above every time. Limit their odd man rushes, and if we do that, I mean, we get in a better situation, I think, coming down on ours. What's harder is getting on a winning streak. Right now, turning this 2 games into a win tonight, this is probably going to be a little bit harder than it was playing a week ago, where everything goes well for you. You're scoring goals, you're playing well defensively, all those things, right? Tonight's a big test for us. That's the challenging part, and we're excited for this challenge tonight.
Obviously, you don't want to give the Oilers too much time on the power play. Is there kind of a mindset or a balance in the discipline when you're playing such a lethal power play?
Yeah, you got to be careful. Be aware of your stick. Be careful on not taking penalties, too many penalties. But at the end of the day, you got to go out there and work work as hard as you can and make every inch they have worked for. So. I think the focus is on us and just what we do.
So there's Yanni once again at morning skate today. Will join the 200 club for the Seattle Kraken franchise. And again, centering that line with Tolvanen and Bjorkstrand, that I think has been one of our most electric lines. You've heard Nick Olczyk on the broadcast break down how sometimes even if they're not getting on the score sheet, the work that they put in sets other lines up to perform well. Allison Lukan has broken down on film how much Ellie Tolvanen and Oliver Bjorkstrand are able to do, and the impact that they have with the pepper pot. So looking for those guys. But coming up, I'm going to give you what you need to know as far as our keys to the game. I think that, some of them will be familiar, and some of them are just kind of anchoring us a little bit back to Kraken hockey. So we're going to get into that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Now, if you're looking for the right teammates, you don't always have what you need as far as all of the tools. But if you have, in let's say hockey, unlimited cap space, which the Seattle Kraken do not have, but if you had unlimited cap space, even then, you're not always guaranteed to find the right fit. But if you need to hire, then you need Indeed, because Indeed can help, especially small business owners, match right on their platform. It's the perfect matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. So, leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked-on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. So again, all you have to do is go to Indeed.com/locked-on. Remember that terms and conditions apply. But if you need to hire, then you need Indeed. Thanks as always, Kraken fans, for joining me here on the Locked On Kraken podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. A reminder that it is a game day, which means not only can you listen to Locked On Podcast on the Sirius SXM app, but you can also listen to the Kraken game against the Edmonton Oilers. Whether you want to listen to the Oilers broadcast, you want to listen to the Kraken broadcast, if you're lucky like I was the other day, you get to listen to both simultaneously. That is our radio and TV broadcast. Either way, check out Sirius SXM. You can find all your Locked On needs there, as well as your hockey broadcasts. And I think it's going to be a good game. I liked what Yanni said, that this is a good measuring stick, not only because Edmonton is on a heater, not only because they are in the Pacific Division, but also because of what Dave Hakstol said, that, you want to get through the hump. Yanni also touched on it. He felt that it might even be a little more difficult, this kind of a game. And you got to really work yourself up and refine the details, because you're playing a worthy opponent. You're playing a team that's on a heater, and you want to get back into the winning streak. I think they're not saying it, but you got to think that the Kraken are remembering what it was like when they could only string 2 wins at a time together and were skidding instead of streaking. So not a must-win game. I'm not sure I'm all the way live with Eberle, but if that's what he needs to say to his team to get them focused, then I'm all for it. So what are my keys to the game? My personal keys for the Seattle Kraken? Well, here you go. Let's get back to basics. Let's just get back to basics against Edmonton. It goes to, again, what Yanni was saying. It goes to what Dave was saying, although he doesn't want things to get so basic that all we're doing is defending. And that is a fine line. That is a fine line between knowing what you need to control and keeping it simple versus keeping it too simple and staying too far on the back foot. So I liked that Dave mentioned that. Let's go back to the keys. Empty the tank. Empty the tank, boys. You're 6 games on the road. You're gonna, that you're depleted because of illness, because of injury. I want to see the Seattle Kraken know that they're coming home to some home cooking, to their, sleep number beds or whatever they got going on, and just empty the tank. And honestly, I think that's what it's going to take for us to get a win against this Oilers team that is probably feeling pretty confident right now. But if we kind of smack them in the lip, as I sometimes say, or like my grandmother used to say, you get hit in the bimba, right in your lip. It'll shock you, right? If you get smacked on the lip. Let's take a 1-2 to Edmonton. That early start going to be key. And of course, I'm going back to the 3 Fs, baby. Let's have some fun. Let's play fast, and we must be forechecking. Dave's been talking a lot about checking in his last few media availabilities when I was with him in New York versus the Rangers, before the game, after the game. We know that this Kraken team plays great when they are focused on forechecking. winning the puck back. I think it was Yanni also today talking about just how important it is to be able to retrieve the puck in the offensive zone, in the neutral zone, and make things difficult. Limit the transitions, of course, for Edmonton. We know that this is a good team, but also, net front was talked about, and I'm getting ready for some college hockey and hockey broadcasts that I have coming up Friday. I will be calling, it will be Providence at Holy Cross. It's going to be on Nesson Plus. And then on Saturday, it's going to be Vermont at Boston University. These are all women's hockey games. That one's going to be on Nesson. So if you're in New England, especially, you can catch me on Nesson Plus and Nesson. But speaking to some of those college coaches whose teams are struggling, Holy Cross has been struggling. Providence, Vermont has been struggling. Honestly, BU is the only team in those four, at least at the moment, that's playing pretty solid hockey. They're getting ready for the Bean Pot Championship next week. And what the coaches, especially for teams that are trying to themselves get back to basics, the importance of having a net front, especially with elite level goaltending. You're not going to be able to snipe your way out every night. Sometimes you got to get gritty. And these are the games where I miss Ryan Donato because he was our gritty master. Okay. So we need the Seattle Kraken. I know they're short. They're kind of short-staffed in some ways, but this is when John Hayden can step up. This is when Ty Cartier can step up. This is when the Pepper Pot himself in his 200th game for the franchise can really step up and give us that gritty sandpaper kind of hockey. Even Jaden Schwartz coming back from injury, but he did so many great things. I haven't really had a chance to talk about it on the podcast, but he did so many great things, even against the Rangers, that I got to see during the eye test. He's a never quit, never give up guy. And that's the kind of energy we need to take into this. Empty the tank, focus on the 3 F's, and get back to the basics. And sometimes back to the basics is, hey, if a shot's going in, attack the net, try to get the rebound, get another whack of Weeza, or if you can't get another shot towards net, bring that puck back out and reset the offense. Tire down Edmonton so that you're not the ones getting tuckered out on the defensive side of things. I hope that you are enjoying your day ahead of tonight's game day. It's a late night game for me now that I'm on East Coast time, but we will be back tomorrow. It'll probably be later in the day. I want to get up to Massachusetts and get ready for my game. So we'll come around afternoon Eastern time. So that's late morning, early afternoon on the left coast, the West Coast. So we'll talk a little bit about the Coachella Valley Firebirds definitely tomorrow. I might be tempted, but I'm going to try to save my conversation on the Mavericks for Monday. But take a look at what our ECHL team is doing. But until we get to those episodes, as I always say at the end of the show, be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another, and it's a game day, baby. So we want to get that sandpaper going for our guys. So we're going to say loud and proud, hold fast, stay true, and let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.